As I look back at the slippery slope that I allowed to be a part of my life, here's what's ironic. I had a church planning coach that I met with every Wednesday morning. I had an accountability partner that was one of the elders at our church that I met with every Tuesday for 3 years. And so I had the policy of never, being in a car alone with a woman, never closing the office door when I was counseling with the opposite sex. Like, I had all of these things externally set up in my life to protect me from moral failure. When I stood at the altar, I never anticipated that 10 years into marriage and 10 years into ministry, I was going to forfeit my ministry and almost lose my marriage because of infidelity. That was never the scenario that I imagined. I went upstairs and Trish was sitting down, and I sat down on the edge of the bed and I said, "Hey, we need to have a conversation." And she said, "Okay, about what?" And I said, "About us." And she said, "What about us?" And I just said, "I'm done." And I just remember her sitting up in the bed, and she looked at me and she said, "You're done with what?" And I said, "I'm done with you. Like, I'm out. I don't want to be married anymore. I don't want to be in ministry anymore. I don't even know if I want a relationship with God anymore. I'm having an affair. It's with your best friend, and I want to be with her."
I almost could not compute what he was saying to me, and so I got in the car and I left. And here I had been in ministry for 10 years, and I didn't want to talk to God. I didn't want to open my Bible. I didn't want to do or figure out what the Christian thing was to do. I felt like I had been doing for 10 years for this, like, for what?
Trisha and I didn't have any contact with each other. We had a mediator that helped us get our kids back and forth from the house I was staying at to our house. And my counselor said, "You know what, let her initiate contact. If she wants to talk to you, then let her be the one to call you."
It took me 10 days for God to finally get a hold of me, because I was willing to change. I was willing to say it. I'm not really sure I was willing to act it out. And I was desperate. Like, "God, I'm desperate for your holiness, because I'm making a mess out of my life, and I don't want to continue to make a mess of my life." And felt like clearly God just prompted me, "Call Justin."
And I still remember looking down and seeing Trisha's name on the caller ID.
When I heard Justin's voice, I think it was the first time that I had heard his voice with the purity that God hears his voice. I wasn't looking to him to do something for me. I wasn't looking for him to change. I wasn't trying to control what he may say to me in our conversation. I just wanted to hear from him.
In the relationship that I had done my very best to completely destroy, God was bringing a resurrection and a renewal and a transformation that I couldn't control, that I couldn't take credit for. It was only him.
Yeah, obviously that first phone call wasn't like, "Hey, come home, everything's great." It was the beginning of both of us living, gosh, without all of this baggage of trying to be something for each other we were never meant to be. I felt like I'd always saw the best of him, having no idea that he lived under this umbrella of the worst. Like, he saw himself in the times that he struggled with pornography, in the times where he knew he should have gotten help from being abused and he didn't. Like, all of those things, I had no idea that they weighted so much on them. It was like dysfunction in our marriage, when really the dysfunction we brought into our marriage had nothing to do with each other. And it took about 4 years for me to realize that ministry didn't destroy my marriage. Who I had become, who Justin had become in ministry, is what destroyed our marriage. And so as we were in this new season of not just rebuilding our marriage, but really feeling like we were like infants in our Christianity all over again, the more that that came up in our lives, we realized it was like another opportunity that God was giving us to say, okay, are you going to stay in this place, or are you going to choose to change in where I'm prompting you and leading you? But the more that we shared, we realized that regardless of what our story is, that you have a story, that God gives us a story to do something with, and with that story has the opportunity for life change to take place. And it was a decision that Justin and I thought, we don't want to miss out on this. We don't want to do this because this is what makes our story whole. We just want to encourage couples. We want to encourage them not to give up, but we want to speak the hard truth to say, hey, you've got to be willing to go to some dark places and be willing to change. And all of us have that power to change. All of us have that opportunity, regardless if it's a global ministry or if it's a coffee at a coffee shop. All of us have the ability for life change to take place if we're just willing to lean into that part of our story.